Hey guys, Doug the Retirement Guy. Welcome back. Uh, this week we have the Yieldmax Weekly Dividend ETF review, all 9 of them. This is where we're going to update you on what's going on with Yieldmax, how things are going, and some great exciting news that they've put out just lately. So before we get in the video, I want to thank each and every one of our Patreon supporters. Without you guys, we can't keep the channel rolling. And also everyone who has hit that subscribe button. Welcome to the party. If you're not part of either one of those, hey, hit the button. It's simple. It's easy to do. Just hit the subscribe button. Don't be afraid to get any of our videos. And if you want to help support the channel, hit that Patreon button down in the description and you'll be all set. Let's get into today's video. Notice to all viewers, past performance does not guarantee future results. The information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It should not be considered financial or investment advice. The examples and suggestions discussed are illustrative and may not be suitable for all individual situations. Always consult a licensed financial advisor or a professional before making any financial decisions. Well, Yieldmax has something exciting to announce. The weekly pay ETFs, the hot news that we have available to you. We're going to try to give you some exciting news today versus all the negative that we've had this past weekend. And that is Yieldmax was one of the first to come out with a series of weekly paying dividend ETFs. Well, the excitement is this. Yieldmax joins the billion-dollar club. Can you believe this? Yieldmax has just hit July 31st. The assets under management, they hit 1.06 billion, and they've done it with only 70.8 million shares putting out. This is phenomenal what Yieldmax has been able to do. This is why everyone's asking for Roundhill to do it and others to do it. They're proving the fact that if you take and invest in your own company, there are people who will invest in you. So turning around, when you do a comparison, the only other one that's out there, ULTY, has assets under management of now $2.62 billion, but they're doing it with 318 million shares. So hats off to Yieldmax, half off to Yieldmax. You guys have done a great job. And why is assets under management so important? The more money they have to work with, the more money they can generate income from, and basically do more things with the fund. Even if the price has a little bit of a drop, you still have funds to work with. So again, hats off to Yieldmax. If you guys, it's an important piece to watch is the assets under management at all times. So let's get in. Well, let's take a look at what the growth fund is doing this time. Now, granted, guys, I'm not going to be Mr. Negative. I'm not going to be down and out. Everything was down. There's nothing I can say to you guys differently. They are all down. But I always stop at these points and ask myself, is it a problem with the company? Is it a problem with the fund? Is there a mechanical problem, or is it a news problem? And everything that we've seen here, truthfully, is a news problem. Not saying that not having enough jobs is not a problem, but that's not saying that Yieldmax or ULTY have done anything wrong for it to drop. People just don't like the negative news. They cashed out. They pulled their money off the table. And you can see that the administration is already making changes with people because of lack of proper information. I'm not going to make this political. I don't care what side of the fence you're actually on. I just look at the hardcore stocks and say, is it good, bad, or ugly? Like I said, ULTY, when I did the last video on that, is I bought in the downtrend. I bought quite a few shares in the downtrend because I still believe in ULTY, even with the numbers that they have. So let's go with some positive. The semiconductor portfolio, CPY, I call it CHIP, is still up 11.42% year to date. So that one, is down 2%, but it's still up for the year. That's why it's so critical to watch that year to date, and that 30-day mark is what's happening. If we can get off to a good year, then we can hold times through tough times. The other thing I look at
is look at the 1 week. What did we lose this week? Which primarily a lot of it was lost on Friday. Um, some were struggling a little bit earlier in the week, but ultimately they lost on Friday. And immediately I look at LFGY. We have been watching that on this channel for a while. It has taken a huge drop, a 9% drop off this week. The crypto and the tech side of their thing is just not clicking. Something's wrong over there. That's when I say, oh, stop. There's a problem at LFGY. And we won't look at that one until we see that thing start making some headway. We had it on our list last week. We're going to eliminate it from this week because it's just not taking off the way we want. But look at the different ones. I know everyone's into ULTY down 4.15. We only need to get it back up, 20 cents and we'll all be happy again. We look at Yieldmax. Again, we're talking pennies. We're talking, 70-cent difference, down 5%. But YMAG down 2.08% didn't fall as bad. And we know that the Magnificent Seven are not doing as well as they once did. And we're waiting for them to kick out of their shell and come out. But the number one thing I look at, QDTY, the NASDAQ 100 zero DTE calls, was only down 1.81%. 30 days, it's only down 0.25 and down 12% for the year. I believe that's a buying opportunity. I do some more legwork into it, but I think that's a buying opportunity that QDTY may be something add or add to your portfolio or increase on your portfolio, because I think this is just strictly, as I call it, a buy period. So let's go into the dividends. Well, we expected dividends to continue on very strongly. And when you look at this, they have. Because a lot of these have been recorded before the Friday drop off. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen next week. What's going to happen in the weeklies next week? Are we going to see some drop offs? Are we going to see the dividends continue out? What will happen through this? But again, we look at the winners of the week. Almost didn't change from last week. LFGY, the crypto, paying 47 cents in dividends, doing extremely well. And that's still giving them a 50 cent for week. We've seen a very little drop off in the average weekly at this time, but with that 50 cents paying, giving them their average, they win the average, they win that dividend side. And then ULTY just still, they're dialed in at that 10-cent return, and they're up to $7.72 for the year so far and 128% dividend return. When you can buy the thing at $6 and in basically 7 months, you're going to get somewhere around that $7 range. It should pay itself off, doing some decent things from it. So I'm really pleased with that the dividends this week were actually fairly strong, fairly positive. YMAX was back to 16 cents. And then you look at the covered call packages, the Russell 2000 at 33 cents. So the numbers are looking good still in dividends. We'll look next week. That's why I look for next week. Will we see a drop off in some of these dividends, or will we see that some of these working off of the great volatility? What will happen with that? Could see a total increase. The next one that we go to is that new form that a lot of you seem to like, and that we keep doing it, is the return on investment from dividends. And the LFGY, which is in yellow, is the one that sits in there with 1.37 years or 71 weeks is there, but I got to put an asterisk on that one. That's a hold because I think it's just continuously dropping. I would continue to wait to see a future number, something lower than what they're currently getting in that $35 range. But our number one winner still ULTY. That thing's with that 10-cent dividend. It's just a hair over 1 year return right now to get you that your $6.01 return onto it. So I'm pleased on that side of things. And then we turn around with the YMAX, and YMAX still pulled in some decent numbers. You guys may look at this and say 16 cents, but when you're dealing with a $13 stock or a $15 stock, how much more you can buy than buying a $30 stock? And that's why ULTY is always a big one. But you want to balance your portfolio. I want to stressify this. We don't want to always just sit here and say, buy ULTY, fixes everything. you want to have basically a diversification across the board. That's why I see all these things here. I would never be afraid to tell anybody to buy a little bit of every one of these because they're diversified. You got a mixture of everything. So that's why we look at everything, keep an eye onto it. Still, the winner of this thing is ULTY with the return on investment at a very short period of time. So now we take a look at the April 25th Doug's portfolio. How did we do? We took a hit. We're just like everybody else. We took a hit. Our fund value dropped 4%. 4% right off the top is gone. We're down to $298 in total purchases. Dividend income is definitely holding well at $1,100. So that means right now our portfolio since April has made $1,411. Not much I can say being down 4%, but we're still in the green. We're still living it. We're still loving it. And this is where we come back and say, hey, take that little bit of that dividend if we haven't used it to live off of. If we have any extra cash, pour it in some of the stocks that we feel are going to do well and help maybe lower your cost of average and increase the number of shares. And when the dividends come pouring in, your dividends are going to continue to go up. So the only ones really looking at this is, again, our winner, as we said, is ULTY at 25.46 total return, which is stock value plus dividend return. And then the second one, the GPTY comes in. Oh, unfortunately, I missed that. It was 26.05. So that's actually better than ULTY, but both of them running neck and neck with there. And the first one I want to show you and go back to is the LFGY. Look at that one. It's down. It's the lowest one in stock value. Remember, we started with $1,000 in each one of these funds. We're down to $890. That's why I'm telling you LFGY would have to show me an increase. You got to show me you're turning the page and start growing before we even want to take a look at investing. But that's one that could, if it turned around, could be a big winner. But if you're not taking your dividends for that one, you got to keep pouring it back into it. So overall, guys, even with a bad week, we have still held on. We're still green. Hopefully, you guys are still green and doing what you're expecting from your portfolios. But remember, living on dividends is the way to do it because you constantly are getting income coming in. So let's go with the top 5 picks. My number 5 pick, CHPY, the semiconductor. I still think that's a fairly strong play with the positive coming out at the end. I'm still number 4 is YMAG, Magnificent 7. I know the dividend has come down a little bit. It's got a 2-year rollover with that, but I think something just keeps telling me that the Mag 7, those guys are going to start figuring this out. You're seeing the profits are coming from it. You've seen what Microsoft's done. I think they're going to start giving you some bigger numbers, so I keep a good eye on that one. YMAG or YMAX, boy, guys, $1 billion in that one. You can't argue with that one right now. That fund's paying well, 16 cents. It's a nice, steady one. That's the one that we have part of my wife's cars put into that one. So we do own that one, and we do have some investment into it. And then the new one, QDTY, that NASDAQ 100. Even though the return on investment is long in that 3 years, it's only down 1.81%, paying a fairly decent dividend. And I'm just kind of in the situation that is a strong little play that if you're not invested in, I would be looking at it very seriously. And of course, our number one winner week in, week out again is going to be ULTY. I just have to put a note out there at 601. I would highly suggest that if you have extra cash, I would probably put some into it. I'm not saying it's 10% of your portfolio. Never have more than 5% of anything in your portfolio. I would really say, hey, bump up your ULTY a little bit on a sale price, collect those good dividends. You'll turn that 10 cents right now it's doing. I always use a 9.5 cent number to calculate things with personally. But realistically, you can take a look at this, and as long as you stay under that $7 point, the numbers all still work with the under in that year market. So I'm not saying $7 is the buy point. What I'm saying is at $6 at 6.0, I think it's 6.01 or 6.02 right now. I truly believe the upside is going to get back to the 620. You give it another week to 10 days, we'll probably be back to 620 again. So there's opportunity to pick up some stock value. Plus, you'll definitely have some good dividend across the board. So guys, hopefully you like what we're doing. Give us that thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. And secondly, give us your comments. Tell us what you like, dislike, and so on. And if you can support the channel, go down in the description, hit that Patreon button, and join. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next week.